In life, you may wonder if you still have a chance with someone you care about, whether you can keep trying to get her back, or if it's time to let go. Let's talk about it. There are 5 key indicators that show when it's time to move on. This is a stoic approach to life, and I've seen many people go through similar struggles in both my own life and helping others. Frequently, you meet someone and everything seems to be going well. Then all of a sudden her interest wanes, communication slows, excuses about being busy increase, and you're left wondering if it's worth it to pursue them further or if it's time to move on. This can be challenging, particularly if you've already envisioned a future together. Perhaps there were passionate moments that left you feeling a strong bond, but now you're left wondering about her actual feelings. She might not want to hurt you, sending you subtle cues in the hopes that you'll understand. The first sign, which is more about your internal state, is when you find yourself in what I call emotional quicks. We've all been there, where you become fixated on thoughts of her constantly checking your phone. How do you know when to step back and move on? Let's look at 5 indicators that indicate it's time to reevaluate. Replaying discussions in your head and speculating on what went wrong. Every part of your life is affected by this all-consuming obsession, and it's hazardous because your emotions have taken over and you're stuck, unable to think rationally or make logical judgments. When you're overcome by emotional whims, it's practically impossible to save the relationship. The best course of action is to walk back at this time. The more you try to cure things, the deeper you plunge. When emotions control your behavior, they typically lead you astray. Thus, pursuing her more would just increase your frustration. I've witnessed it happen time and time again. Even when someone's circumstances may still be reversible, they may over-communicate or act in the other way due to their emotions. Music, RS. Even if she agrees to meet up, your judgment is impaired, and you may find it difficult to put yourself in the best possible light, ruining any chance of rekindling your relationship. This doesn't mean you have to say goodbye for good, but for the time being, you need to redirect your energies elsewhere and give yourself time to gather so that when the time comes to speak with her again, you'll be thinking clearly and free of the emotional fog. When you're around her and she agrees to meet but recoils as if you're an unwanted presence, it's a clear indication that her perception has changed. Here's the thing. Many men experience attraction differently than women. This is one of the most obvious signs that your chances of rekindling the connection have significantly decreased. Physical attraction endures despite other circumstances, even if she has made bad choices or exhibits inconsistent behavior. Men are naturally visual and respond to physical appeal on a basic level, so a simple touch can still be stimulating. Women, on the other hand, function differently once certain boundaries are crossed. Once neediness or insecurity is shown, her attraction can take a nosedive. This is particularly true when past mistakes, such as over-communicating or emotionally dumping on her, have caused a shift in how she views you. Perhaps at one point you were the confident, carefree person she enjoyed spending time with, but now she may view you with sympathy or even frustration. This is where things get complicated. Some people think if they just manage to meet her in person again, everything will fall back into place. They bulldoze their way into another interaction, hoping it will fix things. But by that point, if she has lost respect for you, being in front of her only amplifies the problem. You'll know you've reached a low point when her physical reaction to you is one of discomfort or aversion. When she's recoiling from your touch, it's a signal that attraction has dwindled and there's little left to rebuild upon. Yes, it may seem unfair, but the reality is that once a woman reaches this stage, regaining her attraction is incredibly challenging. I often tell people to seek help before they reach this breaking point. I can help in most cases, but once she's repelled by your presence, it's an uphill battle at that stage. The best course of action is to walk away sometimes, after the initial shock of the mistakes you've made fades, she might come to realize that you were a good person after all, but that realization has to come from her on her own terms. There's a line in the movie Swingers that captures this perfectly. It's true that she reaches out when you finally give up, but the more you attempt to win her back, the more you push her away. There is nothing you can do to make her want to return. There are only things you can do to make her not want to return. Another telltale sign that it's time to move on is when she starts to treat you disrespectfully. This usually occurs when she no longer respects you, and things can quickly go south. She may start acting rudely towards you, making snide comments, cancelling plans, or completely ignoring your feelings. I've seen this in many cases. Someone comes to me explaining their situation, desperately wanting to win her back, and as they describe how she's been treating them, I can't help but think, why would you even want to be with someone who treats you like this? But for many, their self-respect and self-worth have taken such a hit that they just want her back, almost like they're chasing after something they've lost. This is what I call chasing the loss, a term borrowed from the world of gambling. In gambling, when you're on a winning streak, it feels incredible. The chemicals in your brain are giving you all the right signals, but once you start losing, instead of walking away from the table, you keep going, trying to recover that initial high. The same happens in relationships. Guys keep pursuing her, not necessarily because they still want her, but because they want to feel validated again to AAS. The negative feelings she's made them experience when a woman disrespects you, you need to step back. It's important to understand that when respect is lost, your dignity is on the line. I've been through this personally. I once had a female friend that I'd been intimate with, and after things shifted, I tried everything to win her back. Flowers, texts, the whole routine. It wasn't long before I realized she was losing respect for me. One day she even sent me a message, and for a brief moment I felt hopeful seeing her name pop up on my phone. But when I opened it, it read, "If you tell anyone about us, I'll never talk to you again." That was my breaking point at that moment. I knew I had to walk away when someone loses respect for you. Holding on to your dignity becomes non-negotiable, even if you think she's the one or the best you can do. Remember, someone better will come along. This is something I've witnessed over and over again. You must be in a mentally strong place when that person arrives. If you let her disrespect beat you down, it can have a lasting effect on your self-esteem, making it difficult to get back into the dating scene with confidence. Her actions and treatment can ingrain a negative self-image that will hold you back. Now, it's not always her fault. Sometimes we've made mistakes that contributed to this dynamic, but regardless of how you arrived here, the best course of action when you sense disrespect is to set firm personal boundaries. When you discover another guy in the picture, it's important to regain your music's self-respect. Frequently, when I speak with customers, they tell me that everything was going well, and the female was discussing future plans. Perhaps they went on a vacation together, and when she abruptly returns, they naturally wonder, what did I do wrong? Sometimes the solution is straightforward. It's difficult to compete when you're not in her daily life, especially if all of your interactions are via text. If you sense that there's another guy around, it's usually best to walk away. If things don't work out with the other guy, she might remember how cool you were and reach out again. When that happens, it's your call whether you want to pick things up, but I advise walking away when there's another man involved because of the way the mind works. Maybe they confess their feelings too early, like saying, "I love you," after just 2 weeks. I teach a technique called the scrambler that is meant to get her to think about you all the time and finally convince herself that she is interested in you, but it's almost impossible for her to think about both of you at once if she is already focused on another guy. Like when we're really into one person and someone we're not interested in keeps texting us, we get annoyed. The same is true with her. If you notice that she's seeing someone else, it's time to step back. People usually obsess over one person at a time, and if she's caught up with him, your messages will feel like a distraction. In fact, she might even start resenting your attempts to reach out. Pay attention to yourself. This is one of the greatest times ever to be single. Meeting women has never been simpler. Sign up for Tinder, go on few dates, and relax. There are groups where you can meet like-minded people, so instead of being stuck chasing someone who is already with another guy, go enjoy the wealth of options that are out there. Dating apps, social events, and group activities cater to every interest, whether you're into rock climbing, business, or anything else. When you begin to reject other options, that's another telltale sign that it's time to leave. Thanks to dating apps and social media, men can now meet women more easily than ever before, but women can also meet men more easily than ever before. This means that both men and women have a lot of options, which makes it difficult to keep someone's attention. For this reason, techniques like the scrambler are useful because they keep her thinking about you. But if things aren't going well with her, and you're still focused on her even when other women are showing interest, that's a big red flag. Often, guys waste all of their newly acquired dating skills on someone who isn't interested. The irony is that once you learn how to attract women, it becomes much easier to meet and connect with new women, but you might find yourself ignoring potential new connections because you're too preoccupied with the one who is leaving. I always advise my clients that if she is withdrawing, the best course of action is to go out and date other women. There isn't much you can do to get her to return, but dating someone else can cause a reaction when she notices that you're moving on and that other women are interested in you. She may think, wait, maybe I shouldn't walk away from this guy. So if you're in emotional limbo and she recoils like you're some creepy relative, if she acts disrespectfully, if there is another guy in the picture, or if you're turning down other options just for her, it's time to leave. I hope this video has been helpful. In one way or another, consider this advice. As always, thank you for watching, and never forget to continue living a stoic life. Music.